Hey travelers, welcome to Travel Tea, where we just get together, sit down with whatever beverage you'd like to do this with, and chat about travel. I take your questions that I get from Instagram, from comments on YouTube videos, and answer about 5 questions and chat about anything that's come up recently in travel news. And we just have a casual little sit down and talk. I love to record these on rainy days because it just feels super cozy to turn the warm studio lights on, grab a cup of tea, and sit down with you guys and hear your thoughts, your questions, be able to have a chance to talk to you. So if you have a travel question that you would like answered, if you have a trip coming up you have a question about, go ahead and drop it in the comments or let me know where you're going next. I would love to hear from you. I am drinking English breakfast tea today, decaf, because it is afternoon right now, with a generous helping of cream and a little bit of stevia in it. Let me know what you're drinking in the comments below. It's still very hot, so let me put this down for a minute and pull up our first question. There were a few questions about safety and traveling with kids and safety. So if you would like to do a whole video on that, let me know and we can dive more into safety while traveling with kids. But for now, let's answer Sarah's question, which is, what's the best way to keep kids safe while exploring in a big city like New York? So the things that I'll mention are great for any city, any busy place, and really traveling in general. This could be if you're in a Disney park, if you are in a big city, if you are just in a busy place, a train station, a busy place in general. So the biggest thing is just awareness. It's just like if you were going on your first trip to Europe and you're in high school and you're getting that information session from the teacher that's taking you to Europe. They're going to talk to you about how in any big city there's going to be a higher chance of pickpocketing and you need to be more aware, know where your bag is, know where your money is, keep it in front of you, keep it close to your body, that kind of stuff. So it's just basically making sure that you're staying focused and aware of where you are, where your luggage is, where your kids are. And it's not so much something that you do to make yourself aware, but it's little things that keep you from being over fatigued or not feeling your best so that you can be more aware in situations. So it might be planning a rest day when you arrive somewhere so that you can catch up on that jet lag and be present in the situations that you're in. It can be packing light so that you have rolling suitcase in one hand and you have a hand free to be able to hold your child's hand instead of having to hope they don't wander off or drop things to grab them if they run away. So it's more awareness about that kind of stuff and doing things you can do to feel your best and feel energized and be focused on what's going on. It is probably the most exhausting part of traveling with my daughter without another adult with us, that I have to be on all the time. And this is one of the reasons that we talk about slow travel and slowing down a little bit, because if you have to be constantly on and constantly aware, you're gonna get more fatigued. So I highly recommend planning in rest days or slow days. If you saw our video in Barcelona, we went to the grocery store, got strawberries and Nutella, and sat and watched TV in the hotel room in Spanish. And I considered it like social educational learning for the day because it was enjoyable. We were having fun. My daughter was watching cartoons. She was hearing the Spanish language. I was getting to rest and slow down and not have to wonder, if she was safe, where we were, running around, catching up with jet lag, being overtired. So I really build in slower days on our travel so that I can feel better. And one of those reasons is to be able to concentrate and be more aware and be safe when we're out in a big city, in a busy place. Another thing you can do is, and this is up to your family to decide if this is right for you, is depending on the age of your child, we have a gizmo watch that she wears, and it's something that she can just call us, call emergency numbers, emergency contacts on if she were to get separated, if something were to happen, and it's just an added layer of security. We've never had to use it for that reason, but even when flying to a foreign country, we bring it with us. We just don't turn it on because there would be all of those charges and fees associated with having that connected in a foreign country, but she's got it on her wrist just in case something were to happen. She would be able to get in touch with us since she doesn't have a cell phone. I have seen suggestions of Apple tags that I put in my luggage, and there are things you can go on Etsy and get an Apple tag holder that will snap onto your kid's shirt or your kid's shoelaces or something like that, that if they were to get lost, you'd be able to find them and track them with your iPhone. One of the big things we did when she was younger was baby wearing or toddler wearing. Until she was about 3 years old, my daughter was a runner and she was not the kind of kid that was overly cautious or checking to see if we were near her. So in situations like that, airports, train stations, around Disney, I had her in a baby carrier, front or back, depending on how big she was. But baby wearing helped our early travel days happen because I was still able to be hands-free. I could be handling luggage. I knew she was safe. I knew she was attached to me, and I didn't have to worry about her running off. I know that people have very controversial opinions on like child leashes and toddler leashes, where you see the Velcro strap like Velcro to the kid's wrist and then Velcro to the parent's wrist, and it's a little like bungee between them. No judgment. If that's something that you think is going to work for your family, then whatever keeps your kid safe is what you need to do, and you're going to know what's going to work best for your kid. I preferred to do baby wearing over a leash like that because I felt like she was up here and I could talk to her and I could point out things that we were seeing, and she was still in the action and part of the action, as opposed to having her down on the ground and tripping people or whatever might happen with one of those. But if that's what is going to work best for you and give you peace of mind and help you be able to travel with your kid, no judgment. The last thing I'll say is talk with your kids beforehand. It's something that I put into all of the Adventure Buddy series books. Talking to your family, talking to your children beforehand about what to do if something goes wrong. And it doesn't have to be a scary conversation, and it ideally would probably be a multiple piece conversation where you talk about it multiple times over weeks leading up to your trip and when you're on your trip, if you see a situation where it's explainable. But talking to your kids about what to do beforehand. If you are at Disney, explain to them what a cast member is, and it's someone with this name tag on that you can go up to and ask for help if you get separated from us or if something feels wrong. If we are in a train station, who do you look for to go to for help? Who are the helpers? Who are you going to go to? It's honestly something that I think you should have a conversation with any age kid, but if you start when they're young, or you can be in an airport and say, oh, look at all the people that are here. Do you see all the people here? If you weren't holding my hand right now and we got separated, who would you find? Who would you go to help you? And these are conversations that you can have throughout their childhood, if you're at the park, if you are traveling, and it's just going to build their travel confidence and your travel confidence. And then you know that if the worst were to happen, that you've at least had that conversation with them, and they hopefully remember in that moment what they should be doing, who they should be looking for, who to ask for help from. One more thing that I will say is take pictures of your kids every morning. God forbid that you had to describe what they were wearing or say what was happening. You would have that to give to a security guard or a police officer or something like that. But those are just some of the things that you can do to work on that safety, whether it's a busy city that you're in or a busy situation or any situation. It's fantastic that you're asking that and having those conversations about safety and being safe when traveling with your kids. Next question is from Megan. Megan from Instagram asked, what is your favorite place to stay at Disney? We're planning a trip to Disney World. We have some extra funds and we want to stay at one of the fun hotels. Oh, okay. If you want to see some of the places that we've stayed at Disney that are really unique and fun, check out my playlist, 2-Minute Room Tours. If I had to pick my favorite, it's really hard. So okay. Let's narrow this down to like on Disney World property in Florida. I'll give you a top 3. First off, we are DVC members, and that's the only reason that we can stay in some of the more luxurious hotels. They have expensive cash price tags, but that was one of the big reasons that we were thrilled to be DVC members. So number 3, because it's super unique, at Saratoga Springs, there's something called the Saratoga Springs Tree Houses, and they are fantastic for if you have a bigger group of people. So when we have had 2 or 3 families traveling together, we would get a Saratoga Springs tree house, and they have 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a big living room, kitchen, everything that you could need, and they are like up on stilts and in the trees in the wilderness. Sometimes you can see the water that the little boats go by on to get to Disney Springs, and they're just super unique. They're super fun. And they do have that like foresty treehouse feel, and it's just so fun to stay with like a group of people that you're traveling with, and even if you go off your separate ways in the parks, coming together at the end of the day is super fun. Number 2 I don't know, it's a toss-up between like the Polynesian and the Grand Floridian. The Grand Floridian's beautiful. I loved it being on the monorail, but we only stayed one night on my birthday one time. So I don't think we fully got to experience it because we were in the park all day, checked in, slept there, and went to the park the next day, and we were checked out. So I would love to go back and do the Grand Floridian again. The Polynesian is another that's just fantastic to be on the monorail and to have that convenience, and also the theming of the Polynesian. I am excited to check them out when all of their construction is done on their new DVC rooms, and what they've changed and how they've made it more like family friendly and have more amenities there. So that'll be really exciting to check out. But I love the theming of the Polynesian. It makes me excited for Hawaii just thinking about it right now. We're going to Hawaii in a few months and I can't wait. So I feel like when you're in the Polynesian, like it's the closest you can get to that vibe. And my top number 1 favorite is, I would say, Animal Kingdom Lodge. Whether or not you can get a Savannah View room, the Savannah View rooms, I highly recommend if you can do it, because there's just like nothing compares to being able to like make your coffee in the morning and go out on your balcony and look at giraffes. It's crazy. Or to hear these like wild noises and you don't know what animal they are and you're going out there and looking for them. And to be able to just like pop down into the lobby and walk out in like your own private Animal Kingdom. You don't even have to go to the park. You've got everything there. So it's an amazing place to stay, and that's probably my top favorite hotel and experience. Okay, Emily, from our Sweaty Travelers Facebook group, what are your top tips for surviving a 12-hour flight with a 1-year-old? I'm dreading the trip. Okay, Emily, I hear that. I don't like long flights. I can't sleep on flights, and the more tired I get, the less fun I am to be around. So these are tips for like adults, children, babies, and we again could do an entire video on flight tips when flying with children. Flying with kids is intimidating, and like I mentioned in the safety section of this video that we talked about, it's something where the less you have with you, the less gear, the less you pack, the more hands-free you can be, and the less overwhelming it'll be to fly with your kids. And I'm just talking about like getting through security, getting through the airport, getting onto the plane, that kind of stuff. You can look at this picture, and this was like one of our early travels where I was still learning that I didn't need to bring everything that I owned with me, and we could fly to another state and find diapers there. But this story goes into like the disaster that happened on that trip with everything that we had gear wise, and why I really pared down what we brought with us. So if you want a funny story, go check that one out. But bringing as little as possible with you is my first tip, because then again, you've got your hands free, you're not juggling constantly. Baby wearing falls into this if you can. If you've got a 1-year-old and you feel comfortable baby wearing them, it's a lot easier just to get around when you know where your kid is. You're not having to have 2 hands on a stroller or holding a kid in an arm and pushing a suitcase with the other hand or anything like that. So take as little as possible with you, but obviously plan for emergencies. You're going to, even if you can pick up diapers at your destination where you're going to need some for the flight and things like that. So have an extra outfit in the diaper bag, or 2 if you're going on a 12-hour flight. A 1-year-old is probably too old for weight limit wise for the bassinets, but you can always inquire with the airline about bassinet seats. They're usually like in the bulkhead seat section where there's some extra leg room, and sometimes some detachable bassinets where you can put a baby during the flight when they're sleeping. If you're doing a 12-hour flight with a 1-year-old, I do hope that you've gotten them their own seat. I know it's really tempting to say I have a lap infant, and maybe if you've got another adult with you and you can split the time with a lap infant, that's a different situation. But if it's just you and the child, I would recommend getting your own seat so that you have a little bit of extra space, and if they're sleeping, they can be sleeping on their own. I'm not getting into car seats on airplanes. That is another like super divisive, controversial thing, and that's something where you have to make the call for your family on if you want your kid in a car seat on the plane or if you are fine with holding them. The thing I think people worry about the most is entertaining a baby on a flight, or babies being bored, or even children being bored on a flight. And one of the things that I tell people is that everything on an airplane is new to a baby. So don't stress about that. The seatbelt buckle is going to be fun. Looking out the window is going to be new and fun. There's going to be a TV in the back of the seat in front of you that they can play games on and look at. There will be plenty for them to look at and see and do, that you don't need to pack all of the toys, all of the activities, anything like that. If there was one thing that I would recommend for babies or little kids to bring with you, because it's super light and small and it doesn't take up any room, is like window clings. You can even go to the dollar store and get window clings, and they're like those jelly materials, but they stick to anything. So they can go on the window of the airplane, they can go on the tray table in front of you, you can pull the tray table down and play with them. Other than that, like a baby can play with a cup and a balled up napkin on the tray table, and that's fun. Like, don't worry about bringing like STEM toys with you for a baby to play with. Talk to your doctor ahead of time, let them know you're going on a flight, and see if they recommend anything. I'm not saying like pre-medicate your kids so they sleep on a flight, because that can backfire. I get that all the time. People are like, well, why can't I just give my kid Benadryl before we go on a flight? One, you're drugging your child, like that's But two, they can have an anticholinergic reaction to the Benadryl and just get more hyper instead of calming down. So like, I don't recommend that at all. But talk to your doctor ahead of time, talk to your healthcare professional who knows your child, and ask about if they have concerns about, like, if your child has frequent ear infections or ear problems, what should you do if they seem like they're having ear pain on the flight or something like that. If you have, you know, a younger baby or a kid who's still breastfeeding or taking a bottle or uses a pacifier, using that on takeoff and landing is often recommended, because the sucking can help with their ear tubes and help with pain. And when I was a kid, my doctors had my mom give me something, I don't know if it was a decongestant or something like that, before flights, because I would have a lot of like ear and neck pain on flights. So they would recommend that for me. So I'm not giving medical advice. Talk to your doctors about what you should do for your kid in that situation, but that's something that you'll want to carry on with you if you need to do medication. And it wouldn't be a bad idea, if it's been recommended by your doctor to take something over the counter, to have a doctor's note, because I've had TSA agents tell us we had to throw out like children's Tylenol and stuff because it was a liquid and we couldn't bring it with us. Now, with rules how they are and how they're going and things that have been changed, you should be allowed to bring over-the-counter liquid medications for your children. But again, TSA kind of decides what to do in the moment sometimes. So if you had a doctor's note that said this is, you know, being recommended by this doctor, maybe they would let you keep it. I have definitely personally had to throw away liquid children's like ibuprofen. Obviously, if your kid is on any prescriptions or anything like that, you should be taking those with you. Next, I don't think that, I mean, for a 1-year-old, it's not as big of a deal, but for children in general, I don't think that flights are the time to restrict screen time. I don't worry about it too much if that's what's keeping people quiet and happy and entertained. I don't stress about screen time on flights. The only time I will, cut it off is if we're flying and it's like overnight for us and someone should be sleeping. Then we say, okay, we're gonna go brush teeth in the bathroom now and go to sleep, and try and have a little bit of a bedtime routine for them. And then we leave the TV screen off on the back, or iPads down or anything like that, put them away so that kids can try to sleep. I don't try to make anybody stay awake if they feel like they need to sleep, because you don't know what it's gonna be like when you land. You don't know if there's gonna be a delay getting your rental car, or something's gonna happen where you can't check into the hotel when you expected to, and then everyone is just miserable. So I say sleep when you can, let your kids sleep when they can, try and have some type of bedtime routine and let them get a little comfortable and try and fall asleep on the plane if it's a long haul flight like that. If it's 12 hours, obviously you're going to be hitting at least bedtime or nap times or something like that. So I would try and stick to that schedule if you can. That being said, when you're traveling and schedules go out the window, don't stress about it. And this is from Rebecca Michi, who is a sleep consultant that we used when my daughter wasn't sleeping when she was little. If you are traveling and you're on vacation and bedtimes go out the window or nap times go out the window, don't stress about it. Just get back to normal when you're home, so that they associate that routine with being home, and do the best you can. Don't try to keep your kids up when you're traveling. Give them the opportunity to sleep, but if they miss a nap, they miss a nap. We'll do better tomorrow. Good luck on that flight. Let us know how it goes. This is the last one we'll do. Jessica says she's looking for suggestions for a beach vacation that's fun and safe for kids for under 10. Any hidden gems? We'd like to stay in the US. Okay, Jessica, my favorite beaches are in the Bahamas, so I will have to take those off the list for you. But I love like beaches that have like gentle waves and not a lot going on so that I don't have to be terrified that my kid is gonna drown. If you're staying in the US, I have not been lucky enough to go, but I've heard the Gulf Shores in Alabama are fantastic. If anyone has ever been there, let me know. It's definitely something that's on my list to get to. And I would recommend something like Hilton Head. We love Hilton Head in South Carolina. It's one of the places that we love to hit up. It has warmer water than if you were up in like Maine or Rhode Island. It's not gonna be crystal clear blue water like the Caribbean or some parts of Florida, but it's a really family-friendly place. It's laid back, but there are activities and things to do if you want to. If you want something a little more budget-friendly, on the East Coast I can speak to. North Myrtle Beach is just a little bit, obviously, north of Myrtle Beach, and a little bit more slower paced, not so much like carnival, boardwalk, arcade, everything all at once that Myrtle Beach is, but that's close enough to go to if you wanted to do that for a day trip. And it has some of that, like mini golf. We used to have a condo in North Myrtle Beach, and it's got nice, like wide beaches. And sometimes, depending on the season, you'll be able to see sea turtle nests or go shell hunting, shark tooth hunting, that kind of stuff if your kids are into that. Staying in the US, and then I can speak mainly to East Coast destinations because that's where I've been going to beaches my whole life. Those are some of my favorite spots. All right, that wraps up Travel Tea for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And if you want to catch more answers to questions and have another tea time together, you can check out this video up here. Safe travels, everybody.